Good afternoon, everybody. It's breaking news. And, we've been holding our breath to see what the police would do with this investigation into Russell Brand. Since the allegations came out, there was like a two-pronged, there was the TV documentary, and there was the Times, there was Channel 4. And Russell was speaking out about some of the biggest issues of the day. The government warned him, and he didn't back down. He doubled down. I mean, if you look at his Twitter right now, if you want to know the kind of things Russell is still talking about to his millions and millions of followers. 17 hours ago, he published a quote from Dr. Humphreys. Do you know they're giving COVID jabs to 6-month-old children now? And he's also talking about the war, the military-industrial complex, how Keir Starmer can find money for bombing all over the world if he wants to, but he's cutting back pensioners, electricity heating bills, he's cutting back babysitting, supplements, you name it, it's getting cut in this country. But he's got endless wars for money for wars and endless money to house people coming into this country because they're making billions off those as well. So this is a very divisive subject again. Some people are going to be like, yeah, Russell. I'm looking on Twitter, someone like, yeah, about time Russell Brand got nailed for this, what a perv. And other people are saying, yeah, we expected this. It's the deep state coming after him because he doubled down and he's continued to speak about all these important issues, and he's got such a large audience. And we know from this platform, when you receive a following that is in the millions, our views are in the millions, like our views are in the millions on Epstein, they are coming for you, folks, one way or another, whether it's lawfare or whatever it is. Let's just say we don't know what Russell Brand has done in his past. He's been a sleazy guy. He's written about it in his bookie books. I've read both of them. I think Jen might have read some of them. And he's confessed to a lot of this stuff. He's monetized it. He's made a career out of it. But whatever he's done, it's coming at a convenient time because he's become a thorn in the side for the establishment. That is my perspective. So before we get the news, I read the news out to you. Let's get Ron and Jen's perspective on the headline.
Who pound for a pound? Anyone thinks so? No, with Russell Brand, obviously, I don't know how I sit with this. I'm going to be honest, because there's no smoke without fire. I'm a firm believer of that, and I do feel this year is the year of everyone getting their comeuppances, of the truth being revealed. So I don't quite know where I sit with this, if I'm brutally honest. I obviously know Russell Brand was a bit of a sexual prowler in his younger years. And whether that transpired into illegal activity is a different matter. Or whether he was just a promiscuous young man who spoke quite freely about it in his books. But to go as far as to claim that he is guilty of those accusations, the police had to do a thorough investigation into this. They can't just pop it on the head on hearsay, can they? And arrest him and say, you're charged with this purely on hearsay. There's got to be more to this story that will be revealed, I do believe. It's sad, though. I mean, he's not sat in a police station right now, is he? He's at home until, I presume, until the 2nd of May, till his court date.
So if the police can protect Savile because orders come from the top and he can get protected for decades, can't the police equally go after the people at top want them to go after?
Quite possibly. Of course.
You see, here's the thing, right? We're talking about charges, right? We ain't talking about he's not being convicted of anything. And right now, a friend of mine is going through a court case with some fairly interesting charges that have been slapped on her. And it's also at a very interesting time when it's better that she shut up than was walking around free. And we've seen the documentary, Sean, Jen, we've seen that. And we all just sort of went, well, what now? and we've been waiting to see what's happening next, and here we are. Now, whether this is all true or it's not, we don't know. But certainly, if there was somebody you would want to silence, it's Russell Brand. I've got my own theories about what happened with him and his ex-wife in America and why he came back here and just completely abandoned mainstream media and turned to alternative medias for furthering his career. I know what men like Russell Brand, when they are outspoken about their private lives, their intimacy, their extreme views on sex, people will often criticize men for being outspoken about this. And, you know, just because you're outspoken and you like to get very, very sometimes over the toply frisky, it doesn't mean that you're a evil R-wording essaying monster. And I'll be honest as well with you, this is going to sound even more messed up. We've all seen cases where something's happened at a party, and then 5-10 years later, you can't quite remember how it happened, and now someone's got 20 million followers, and maybe you've got a story to tell. It's not every case, and ladies, I know you're sitting there saying, don't be victim blaming. I'm not, but false accusations are very common, and it's one to keep an eye on and keep an open mind with, for sure.
And false accusations, I totally agree, Ron, becoming more and more, I don't know, they keep pumping out into the media, and especially people as high profile as Russell Brand, who's being outspoken and talking about the stuff he shouldn't be talking about.
Yeah.
But then there's also people in the media, and this frustrates me. I'm Sean will not want me to say this, and this is why I said, Sean, I'll only come on if you let me speak freely. And it's not against community guidelines. Is there's a well-known podcaster who's currently accused of DV, who personally I think did it, and I know he'll get away with it, and he's putting it down to the Matrix. So anyone who is actually committing these crimes is just putting it down to the Matrix. It just can't continue anymore, because there are real victims out there who have been through the most horrendous things. And then there's guys walking around going, it's the Matrix after me. It's rubbish.
Totally. Do you know what else, though, Jen? You've got Thirst Queen dirty walking around going, I'm going to just take some photographs of this man lying asleep in bed and rinse him and blackmail his wife. Oh, I'm going to turn a story around because, hey, listen, you're better off paying me to shut me up, right? Do you know what I'm saying? And I direct you to Elon Musk and his 5,000 children, and the latest case where he's reduced the parental, what was it called, your alimony. He's reduced the alimony to one of his mothers by 60%. So now she's only getting $500,000 a month and a lump sum of $2.5 million, and there's no paternity test on this child. Okay, so I just want to say, I don't know what my point was there. I just kind of segued.
You just wanted to use that swear button. That's all, Ron. I smell straight through you.
Really? I'm just saying, I'm not discrediting the Russell Brand victims. I'm not discrediting any of the person whose name I'm not going to say and his accusations. I'm just saying there's a lot of craziness that goes around in fame and clout and all of that.
It's all getting confused in this cloud of confusion. Exactly that. And people don't know what's real and what's not. And it's disgusting for victims, and it's disgusting for the accused. Like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. And it's,
well, when we talk about
Brand, if I'm going to go on my I'm spiritual as F, I need your beat button now. Spiritual as F. I don't get the vibe that that's the case. I reckon he was promiscuous when he was younger and under the influence, among other victims, and things got a bit, let's just say, put in a grey area. There's a lot of grey areas around Russell Brand in his heyday.
Is there grey areas? That sounds a bit like no one can remember if it was consensual, Jen. What do you mean by grey areas?
I believe it's a grey area, but exactly that.
A grey area. There's a grey area sounds a lot like there's a bunch of women who can't remember if they consented or not. That's what that sounds like.
I don't think it's about consent in this case. I just think they can't remember because they were intoxicated.
I mean, Okay.
He
Sure.
has been totally, honestly, brutally honest in all of his books about his addiction issues in the past.
Yeah.
And we've all been under the influence of you know what, and half the shit I can't remember. I
Well-
have so many blackouts and memory loss over my past, I can't remember to this day.
Yeah.
So it goes to show it's a grey area, exactly that.
Should probably know your limits if you're blacking out.
Well, that's
why I would
hence
suggest.
why I'm more on the straight.
Know your
line.
limits, people. Okay, when you get to the
Yeah.
blackout stage, dial it back a bit. But Sean, I mean, where are you landing with this, man? Because is it a perfect storm of they'll never pin it on me? I'm Russell Brand. I escaped I won the crowd over with the documentary. You demonetized me. I found a new platform. Is this the next wave to deal with the fact that they never took him out the first time, or is this all legit? Where are you landing on this?
So it's a response to him doubling down, I believe, whether he is innocent or guilty. And you guys are both completely correct. Let's put the trajectory of these accusations in the context of lawfare.
Okay.
So if you go back decades, you go back to like Jimmy Savile, Benny Hill era,
Yep.
when sleazy guys were getting away with all kinds of things. And then there was a shift and the internet came along and people were getting outed and the laws were tightened, etc. When that shift began, when someone was accused of something like this, it was considered extremely serious and the person would go down and it was usually justified. But because it was considered so extremely serious, it became a weapon to people who wanted to destroy people's reputations because they knew as soon as they attached an accusation of SAR word to someone, because
Yeah.
it is such a horrific act and it
Yep.
should be considered extremely serious, we can weaponize that
Correct.
and destroy the person's reputation. So I'm going to read two things. First of all, I'm going to read the definition of lawfare.
Okay.
And that refers to the strategic use of legal systems and institutions to achieve political or military objectives or to damage, and here's where Russell Brand comes in, or delegitimize an opponent, often as a tactic in conflict or political disputes. And Russell Brand has completely politicized through his activism, exposing the military-industrial complex, exposing Big Pharma. These are the most powerful corporations in the world, owned by the most powerful people in the world. So he's waking people up to this money go around that the politicians are an integral part of, who control the legal system and the laws. And one of the branches they control is the CPS, which is the Crown Prosecution Service, if you're not in the UK. And here is the announcement that's just come out from the Crown Prosecution Service. Jaswant Nawal of the CPS said, "We have today authorized the Metropolitan Police to charge Russell Brand with a number of beep offences. We carefully reviewed the evidence after the police investigation into allegations made following the broadcast of a Channel 4 documentary in September 2023. We have concluded that Russell Brand should be charged with offences, including R-word, SA, and indecent A. These relate to reported non-recent offences between 1999 and 2005 involving 4 women.
Right. Well,
He will appear.
That's 20 years ago. That's 20 years ago.
He will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court for a first hearing on Friday, the 2nd of May, 2025. The Crown Prosecution Service reminds everyone that criminal proceedings are active and the defendant has a right to a fair trial. It is extremely important that there be no reporting, commenting, or sharing of information online which could in any way prejudice these proceedings." And then it gives notes to this. It says Russell Brand, date of birth, is charged with 2 counts of R-word, indecent account, 2 counts of SA. Jaswant Nawal, she, her, is the Chief Crown Prosecutor for North London. Victims of SA are automatically entitled to lifelong anonymity in the press or any other publication. This means that it's against the law for the media or anyone else to publish victims' names or anything which identifies them as having been the victim of an SA. This includes sharing names on social media. It is not the function of the CPS to decide whether a person is guilty of a criminal offence, but to make fair, independent, and objective assessments about whether it is appropriate to present charges for the criminal court to consider. All right, so before I proceed further, I'll get your thoughts on what I've gone over so far. Get you guys' thoughts.
I was literally writing some notes there, and what sprung to my mind was what Zara Marley said on the interviews about the sort of the sadists being all around us in, you know, every industry, but particularly the music industry, Hollywood and whatnot. And I've got a theory that in his, you know, addictive days of addiction, he was around these types of people, these creatures, got involved with these creatures, realized what this was about, and ran back to the UK and started his spiritual journey.
And there was a theory about his ex, wasn't there? And that she's involved in things. And
because he was right close to them, so he's seen it.
Yeah,
and now he's exposing it, and he's doing the right thing and exposing all these big, you know, terrible companies and the big inner circle and all that. But I think he got bloody close to it.
And he's put a rebuttal up on his ex just hours before these charges have come in about Katy Perry. He said, when I was married to Katy Perry, there wasn't anything off key with her, nor was she involved in anything nefarious. Our marriage didn't work out for normal human reasons. I have nothing but respect for her. Plus, my daughters love Katy Perry.
Like,
so what's your thoughts, Ron, on the date of these allegations?
I mean, what do you want to say about it? 20 years ago, they're suddenly bringing charges. Now, is this the longest investigation ever? Like, what are we talking about here? I'm actually talking to somebody who was in a relationship with Russell Brand round about this time just now on WhatsApp, and everyone that's known him is shocked at what's being said, you know. And oh, hang on, that's my front door. Excuse me a second. That might be Amazon or something. Sorry, Sean.
It's all right. We're pending a delivery here as well. So, viewers, so far, you know, this story is breaking. We don't know all the ins and outs fully yet. But viewers, let me do a quick poll with you guys. Put a 1 in the chat if you think Russell Brand, although he's lived a sleazy life, the fact that these charges have come in today is lawful to destroy his reputation because he's speaking out against big pharma, military industrial complex, corrupt politicians, etc. Put a 2 in the chat if you think Russell Brand has probably done these things and he's going to get sent down.
I just think he, you know, he's gone on to do wondrous work of exposing, you know, big pharma, big foods, the industrial complex and whatnot. But why? And it must be because he's seen firsthand how terrible they are. I don't know. I think he did the, what do you say, Icarus, flew too close to the sun and thought, sod that, I'm going back.
So do you think that in Hollywood, he got an insight into the esoteric rituals?
100%. He went in because he is the type of person you want in your group. But he's not a sheep, he's a shepherd. That's why when he seen it, he went, sod that, I'm going back.
Yeah,
I
agree. I reckon Perry took him over to the US. He went into one of the rooms and the doors that she was escorting him through. He's seen what it was about, and he ran. Now, this is a message from Russell Brand's ex-girlfriend. I didn't know he was such a womanizer then. I was upset that he gave me an STD, and he was horrible to me, but he didn't R-word me. I was seeing him just before it came out that he was seeing Kate Moss, and that's when he became well known. And this was round about the time of these allegations. So take from that what you will. But it just seems wild, man. Here's the other thing. We need to look at the statistics of R, right? 14% of R cases are reported in the UK, and there's a less than 1% conviction rate, right? The maths are not great, okay? So when was this reported? When did these women start trying to fight their case? Because we've seen previously in a very famous Romanian case where the legal system told these women that they were a victim. Oh, did you know that you're a victim of these people? Well, hey, you are, and we're going to court.
I think the Tate brothers, they were a completely different story. In the sense that I do think they've been well and truly matrixed, because the acts they're doing, the popularity and influence they have online, they had to get shut down, and the fact that they were flashing the cash everywhere they went. But with Russell, it does. That's the thing. If he was guilty of such crime, he had an opportunity to go into the shadows. When he came back to the UK after gave up on Hollywood, he had an opportunity to go back into the shadows and live his life, you know, without any dramas. He chose to then expose the elite. So if you had that many skeletons in your closet, would you risk it to go expose the elite?
That's a good point as well. Also, though, if you were a dark, creepy, evil, R-wordy individual, that seems like a great group to be part of, right? I mean, I'm not saying all R-worders are necessarily into younglings, which is what the narrative is for this cabal, but certainly it extends past that. And if he was a dark, twisted, evil, R-wordy guy, they would have found a place for him in the cabal, right? I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh, he would have got the throne. Yeah.
But I guess I'm not defending R-worders here. But I suppose you could be an R-worder who's not necessarily wanting to be part of the Illuminati or anything like that. That might be too far. Who knows? But it's one of those stories that, will we ever really know what happened? You know, it's 20 years ago. If I was to say to you, can you recount a SEX encounter completely accurately from a house party 20 years ago?
I'm racking my brain now. I was thinking, how old was I 20 years ago?
Right.
And I was like, I can. But yeah, but yeah, play by play, it's difficult, isn't it? So
yeah. And also,
but SA is different. You remember, I've been a victim of SA, and I can remember it every single moment, and that was just over 20 years ago.
Okay, so
I can remember it play by play. I can tell you what was playing on in the background on the TV. I can remember everything.
Well, here's an interesting one, because what the lady that I'm speaking to just now has said is, back then Russell wasn't super duper famous, right? He wasn't super duper well known as he is now. I mean, could it just be the possibility that no one was interested and no one was listening back then? Could it be something like that? Could it have been police reports that have sat for 20 years and now they're being weaponized? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, because 20 years ago seems like a perfect weaponizable situation. Okay. And
but fame does crazy things to you. We've seen it time and time and time again. So obviously, you know, your friend's account is reliable, but what's to say fame didn't change him? I'm just being devil's advocate here. So
you know. 100%. Fame absolutely could change you. It could also have been a building block process, because she did say he wasn't very nice to her. So it could have been a progressional thing. Who knows? It could also have been, well, if you're consenting to the start of an SEX act, and then during that SEX act, maybe something happens that you've never done before, or in the moment you're a bit like, oh, I don't know if I'm enjoying this, but you don't vocalize it. And 20 years later, you're still thinking about this thing that happened. Like, that isn't R. Okay. If you're getting jiggy and things, you know, I don't know, maybe you've never had something pinched, and then you get something pinched, and you don't say, oh, I don't like that, please stop, but you lock it in your brain, Do you see what I'm saying? There's this twisted recounting of memories. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying that's in every single case. I'm just saying, if this is a case of you've woken up 20 years later and phoned the police, compared to the morning after you call the police and no one does anything about it, those are two very different things in my brain. Very different. Because 20 years ago, when you reported it, it's fresh in your mind. But
then again, Ron, I've got to say, when, for example, my essay, if I could charge him today again, I would, because the sentence was insulting that he got. But no, I was having a discussion with my friends when it first came out about Russell, the previous time, when it was obviously before the charges. And I said, the thing is, we go back when we were first active, and me and my friends have all been in a similar situation. Back then, it was not all about consent is key and all the important awareness that is out and about today. Every single one of me and my female friends, and we're all in our 30s or early 40s, have been having sex with a man under the influence, not actually wanting it, but not saying anything. And it is such a grey area. These days, obviously, you go, nah, not fancying it. But back then, a lot of us just put up and shut up. And that's what's really scary. Is that still going on? Was that what these women were doing? And if they were, that's where the grey area is.
Can I ask you a couple of weird questions on that, right?
Go on.
So the situation you're talking about, how did the sexual encounter become initiated? Was it a normal kissing? Was it like kissing and progressing?
I've gone on a night out, fallen asleep in a bed to a man next to me trying it on with me.
Oh yeah, that's straight up R. That's straight up R.
But you don't. I never seen it as that.
Yeah, but that
I've
is
never seen it
straight
as that.
up R.
We were friends.
Yeah, that's why I asked. That's why I asked.
It's just so. I could go around. I'd have like at least three men in court right now for that.
Yeah, Yeah, but Jen, you see the difference between you in that situation where you're kissing a guy and it progresses naturally, and then you realize what's happening and you start regretting it, but you say nothing, compared to you being asleep and someone trying to argue.
That creepy little. I had a guy putting his creepy hand around there once, but this time I actually grabbed his hand and threw it. It was like that. It was like that. It's disgusting. Yeah.
See, I was raised by two women, right? And that was never because we were about the same age. I mean, that is shocking for me to hear that we grew up at the same time. And as a woman, you're passing out and getting essayed and hard. And it's sickening, really, to be honest.
But honestly, me and my friends spoke about this. They've gone, that we normalized it somehow.
But this is like that. This is like that weird conversation with Will Smith and his wife. Sean's just having to sit here and listen to all this. Sean, just circle it back.
Yeah, I want to talk about what Marie has raised here. What about survivors who come forward? It happened 20 years ago. So what is important here, I believe, is how these allegations evolved and what set them into motion. So the fact that it is 20 years later is quite common, because if you look at the Epstein case with Virginia and how she opened the door, for all the other survivors to come forward, a lot of the times these kids are traumatized and they've got it internalized, and it's not until they've become adults and they are either given the tools to deal with the trauma and they've matured enough to speak about it without feeling the pain so much that they're able to actually speak about it. So it's a perfectly normal thing for it to come out decades later. However, in Russell Brand's case, what happened was it was the Channel 4 dispatches team, and I think it was the Times, went over and just fine-tooth combed every single person Russell Brand had interacted with throughout his entire life and talked to these people and encouraged them to come on camera anonymously and make these allegations. These weren't women, as far as I understand from when the documentary came out, we watched it. These weren't women who just decided one day that, I'm mature enough now to handle this. and go after this monster, and I'm going to go to the cops. This was all procured, I believe, and solicited by the media to do a hit piece on him, because he was speaking out about some of the most powerful people in the world, and they warned him, and instead of shutting up, he doubled down. And we did a load of videos around that time on Russell saying these things, and we said the fact that he has doubled down, he needs to be very careful, because they will up the ante now. They're not just going to go away, and that is exactly what's happened. I don't know whether he's innocent or guilty, but the way these allegations has come about and the vested interests behind it stinks to me.
I just want to say to Marie D as well, I'm not speaking generally about survivors or generally about cases. I'm speaking specifically about this case and the details we have. So this isn't a broad spectrum opinion on survivors or the tough realities of getting justice. I'm merely, probably a little bit insensitively ranting a little bit just specifically about this case. So I do apologize.
No, that's the thing about being you, Ron. We're both quite similar, is we say what we think, and sometimes that might come across like we're believing one side over the other, but instead we're just thinking out loud and going, oh, what about this? What about that? What about this?
Well, here's the thing I noticed, right? We both don't think before we open our mouth. Sean thinks before he opens his mouth and has almost he has almost 1 million subscribers. And you and I, right, are just teetering along, not thinking before we speak and wondering what our problem is. Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe it's one of those things, because I often, when somebody like Marie says that, I'm like, oh God, I didn't actually realize how it sounds. So, and Sean's now at the stage where he's like, shut up, Ron, we're circling it back. Sorry, carry on, Sean.
You've also got to look at who's reporting on it and who benefits, because when the Julian Assange allegations came out, when he was in Europe, and these people that were associated with the embassy, that he R-worded them, and I defended him, lawfare wasn't used as commonly as it is now. And when I defended Julian Assange, because I was communicating with him while he was holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy, etc., and the hate that came down on me for supporting Julian Assange. My girlfriend at the time had a word with me. My sister had a word with me. I think my parents were none too happy. And now it's commonly accepted, years later after the damage is done, that those allegations against Julian Assange were nonsense. He was the enemy of the US government, the Clinton crime family, etc., because of what he was exposing. Exactly the same things that Russell Brand is exposing: the corruption, the government contracts, the mass murder, the bombing of the poorest countries in the world, millions and millions of people dead, more than half of them women, babies, kids, these bombs just getting dropped all the time, so that Dick Cheney, Bush, Clinton, Obama, all of them all these political crime families can just make billions off the back of it. People, companies like Halliburton, and Russell and Julian both exposing these people. And it's no coincidence, I believe, that they're both getting these, gone down the same path with weaponized sexual offenses.
It's almost like they found a little hanging thread and they've just ripped the clothing apart with him. So they found this little weakness and they're doing that. And it does seem to be that way. It's just, sat there racking my brain going, am I defending a monster or am I standing by a genius? I feel like it's the devil and the angel on your shoulder situation here. Like, Sean, darling, what do you truly believe?
I believe that the powers that be have no interest in justice. Otherwise, they would put forth the Epstein client list. Because how can you have a human transportation criminal network and only one person in prison? Yet they're throwing all the resources in the world after Russell Brand. It doesn't make sense to me.
Sean, would you be all right with one of Russell Brand's ex-partners coming on and giving a character testimony?
Absolutely, yeah, of course. That would be.
She was just a little bit concerned, because apparently the media is advising people not to talk about this or something. Like, that doesn't sound suspicious at all.
The media doesn't want anyone going against their bloody narrative.
It's like, what? So we're not.
That's bizarre, and that's the thing. If he does get sentenced for these these crimes, they will literally throw the book at him. The justice system will throw the book
Well,
at him.
here's the thing, Jen, right? Here's the thing. If they jail him, he becomes a martyr, okay? They learned with Lenin that you can't just shoot them anymore, right? Because you make a martyr out of them. You have to keep them in the public free, but destroyed and discredited, okay? Because then they don't become a martyr, they lose everything, and they become, what is it when you become you're ostracized from society, like you're just shunned, you're shunned. And it breaks people, and that is enough in 2025 to completely destroy someone. And I think that is the new tactic that they're using. So that's in my humble opinion, anyway.
Well, then why are the media, not putting as much frigging effort into the grooming gangs here in the UK than they do Russell Brand? Explain me that.
You've got tens of thousands of girls getting R-worded, and the government just voted against investigating it last month. And the Labour Party, Conservative Party, Reform Party all voted against it. They could protect tens of thousands of girls, but they choose not to. So the R-worders
what was it? Good Morning Britain had Bonnie Blue on. They're more concerned about, an OF girl than like pitting her against some Made in Chelsea star than actually dealing with the epidemic here in the bloody UK. It's disgusting. I'm fed up.
Yeah. That's the least of our worries in the UK right now. I'm going to be honest with you.
And then what? We're just going to, more taxpayers' money, convicting Russell Brand because he's pissed off the inner circle. Brilliant.
Oh no, you put him in jail and you make him a martyr, man. Like, if this is all exaggerated falsification and weaponized, then there ain't no women that are going to be going to court for him to be charged. Okay, like there's nothing's going to be going forward. I don't think it will. I think this is a smear campaign. But if it is real, okay, we are going to see a tidal wave of other victims. Okay, Russell Brand is either 100% innocent, or we're going to see a tidal wave of madness. It's one of the two. I really don't think.
On the poll, the viewers are now running about 60-70% think it's lawfare, and about a third think he's going down. He's guilty.
Interesting.
All right, so I'll read the news story then. I've not done that yet. Here we go. So the headline is
my delivery's here. So while you do that, I'm going to disappear too.
All right, so the headline is Russell Brand charged with R and SA. Breaking news by London's Met Police. They said in the past few minutes that he will be charged with 1 count of R, 1 count of indecent A, 1 count of oral R, 2 counts of SA, after detectives started investigating 18 months back. This investigation was sparked by allegations reported by Channel 4 and the Sunday Times relate to 4 separate women. It has been alleged that he R-worded a woman in Bournemouth in 1999, indecently A'd a woman in 2001 in Westminster, London, orally R-worded and SA'd a woman in Westminster in 2004, and between 2004 and 2005, SA'd a woman also in Westminster. A statement said the police had issued a charge and requisition to the 50-year-old whose residence is listed as being in Oxfordshire, South England. Quote, the women who have made reports continue to receive support from specially trained officers, said Detective Sergeant Andy Furphy. The Met's investigation remains open, and detectives ask anyone who has been affected by this case or anyone who has any information to come forward and speak with the police. A dedicated team of investigators is available via email at, and it gives the email. Brand is down to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on Friday, May 2nd. He has been working and living in the US full-time of late, saying recently on his Rumble platform, I don't live in the UK anymore because I personally have experienced how the media, government, and judiciary, if you suddenly become an inconvenience, will find ways to attack and shut you down. Brand could now be detained by US police under an international arrest warrant, and the Home Office would have to submit a formal extradition request to Washington on behalf of the CPS to seek his return to Britain to stand trial. We have reached out to the Home Office for comment. The revelations on Channel 4 and the Sunday Times led to much anger and introspection. Since then, the BBC, Channel 4, and Big Brother producer Banerjee have all led internal probes, having worked with Brand on shows up until late last decade. All these probes have led to apologies and further revelations. The most recent report from the BBC, whoops, just lost that one, found that the staff, all right, that just crashed. I'll get back to that in a second, folks. But one of the things I'm wondering now is what Trump is going to do with this. Because if he's in America and he's just been charged with all this, and they've now got a file to get him sent back to the UK, and Trump and Elon are standing up for free speech, are they just going to roll over and hand him over to Keir Starmer?
Okay,
Or,
so this
go
took
for it.
place in the UK, and they're looking to get him extradited from the US. Sorry, I was in the side chat when you were reading that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Well, that is going to be interesting because that is one of the key things that they have talked about, because this is, someone just said it, that it's sus AF. Oh, that's the wrong one right here. Rob Smith. It is sus.
Yep.
1999. A quarter of a century ago. I want to know when and how the reporting of this crime came about.
Well,
really
after the documentary came out and the news story came out in the Times, they were putting all over mainstream media call outs for women to come forward.
Yep.
It was everywhere. So you would think that the police would have got a lot more information off the back of that. I mean, everybody under the sun's going to come out.
It's the anonymous source factor.
Sorry, did they put this much effort into this, Savile accusations?
No.
Did they put, this much investigation into Hugh Edwards? No. I'm just looking at the facts here.
Yeah.
I remember waking up. I remember waking up one morning, and like 10 of my mates had sent me this picture of Hugh Edwards flashing his arse. That apparently the allegation was
circulating the internet, isn't it?
He'd allegedly sent that to an underage person, and I've no idea how that photo got circulated onto the internet. It's whoever did it, it went absolutely worldwide.
Yeah.
When you have 6 million subscribers hearing the truth, you must be taken down. That's mellow yellow.
Right. And it's
more than that.
You got to remember as well, Russell Brand's not sitting there in a suit. He's not sitting there like GB News relaying information and talking at you. He's very much, people are drawn to the way that he presents himself and the way that he puts the information across. And it's free thinking, and you having the ability to freely think is a dangerous thing to these individuals, the powers that be.
He's got 11 million followers on X alone, and on YouTube he's got 7 million.
Yeah.
And I was watching his subscriber count when that documentary came out about him, and his subscribers went up tens of thousands.
Yeah.
The public was not buying into it, and then they wrote off. And the government wrote to all the social media platforms and requested they demonetize him. That was the UK government, and Rumble refused. They got told off, and YouTube complied. So now they're probably going to use this indictment to deplatform him. That'll be the next step. That's the objective here.
Yep.
They'll take away his money. Then they'll take away his credibility.
His voice. Take away his voice.
I tell you what, as soon as he gets banned on Rumble, the kick deal of a lifetime will hit Russell Brand's desk. I'm telling you that right now. There'll be a big fat $15 million check for him just to live stream his content on Kick. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, Rumble sent a ballsy response, didn't they, to the lady that was in charge of the Orwellian branch of censorship of the UK government, and asked her who's under what authority. does she have over the freedom of speech if this guy has not been convicted of anything?
Right.
So if they can get a conviction, they can take it next level when it comes to deplatforming him.
Does it make you fearful, Sean, then, the bigger your subscriber count is going and the more exposing you do, the pair of you, does it not make you a bit fearful of what could happen?
Only when you and Ron are on, because I've got no control over your big mouths.
Yeah, that's true. But well, I mean, nah. I mean, but now since you said that, Jen, I'll drag you down with me, mate. I'll tell you that, right? It was all Jen. It was all Jen. Okay, she's the ringleader. Come on, let's just stick to that story. Whatever happens, you pin it all on Jen. Okay, absolutely nailed it. Oh, that's brilliant. In fact, can we get some Jen Did It merch on the go? Actually, let's just. Is there any way that we can start a Reddit page about how Jen was the mastermind behind what went on when you were selling those things in America, and really, really lay it on thick? Do you know what I'm saying? She was the main boss. That's my summer project. But now,
I think basically when there's action against us, there's a reaction, and Ron and Jen and many of our guests are extremely savvy in the new language we've had to learn, so that we don't get the algorithmic censorship and strangulation. And it's a credit to Ron and Jen that they're able to get people on and coach them. And it's not, and some people get upset with that. They're like, well, why can't we say the R word? Why can't we say SA? You're taking away from what's happening to these girls and the survivors. But it's not that. If we do use those words, we're taking away our reach.
Yeah.
So those stories, they won't get out to the public at the level we're able to get them out by outsmarting the algorithm.
It's very different if you're a registered news brand. Okay, like when you set up a YouTube account, you're either a podcaster or whatever. You give yourself your account a little title. And if you're like GB News or Sky News and all these places that do use the correct terminology, you can see a vast difference between a mainstream media format and a new media format. So you'll see some channels that use these words, but there's a clear distinction between how that channel is being pushed and presented by YouTube. Whereas we are very much a podcast, we are very much about the free thinking. We have to protect ourselves because YouTube hates people like us. All right, they want more Mr. Beasts. Okay, they want more Mr. Beasts and a whole bunch of like kid-friendly content. Okay, Coco Melon Part 2. That's what they're after.
So when we were doing the Epstein thing and we were the tip of the spear, we had everybody on at the forefront of the case. One of the reasons that I understand the trajectory Russell Brand is on with the lawfare is because they did it to me. They criminalized me. So they went over all of my videos and they found a guest I'd had on that had named an underage survivor of the R word. And it's illegal in this country to publish the name, even though the name was all over the internet.
No, you're downplaying this. I'm not going to talk about the case. I'm not going to talk about the case. This is one of the biggest cases in the whole of the country. Everyone knows this case. Everyone knows the names of these kids. Everyone was talking about it. Everybody's put out stories. Everyone's done true crime on it. But Sean has a guest who says it once. Just to lay it on a little bit thicker there, Sean, because that's the case.
well, it's a catch-all basically. So the laws are so tight that if they want to take you down, they could find something. So in my case, they went over all my videos. They found someone. It was a seasoned journalist who should have known better, and they found that this lady had dropped this name. So I was then charged for publishing this name, and the journalist was charged for dropping the name. So then I had to go to the police station with my lawyer, and because I had published it and because she had said it, I was guilty. There was no way out of it. I was new to live streaming and doing podcasts at the time, relatively new, so I didn't understand the laws properly then. So basically, an agreement was reached with my lawyer and the police, the authorities, whereby I had to plead guilty, accept a caution, which put restrictions on my reporting of survivor stories.
That was a mad
And yeah, when we got the survivors on, there's certain things we have to do to be in accordance with that law, or else I go to prison.
Yeah, you can actually, you can physically see the time change in the content. It goes from, hi, welcome to the Sean Atwood podcast. This is our guest. Hi, can you please confirm that you are willing to give up your anonymity and you are willing to give up your story? Please look into the camera and say it very clearly for me. It's crazy, man. And, there's a lot more to what went on back there. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but this isn't the first time. This isn't the first time.
The cop that was interviewing me with my lawyer over this charge of dropping this young person's name on my channel, the cop said to me, he usually is interrogating and putting away PDFs. And here I am, an activist against PDFs, and he's interviewing me, and he couldn't understand it. And he said it come down from the top. So there was nothing he could do about it. So the police, there's a lot of well-meaning police, and we've interviewed some of them. Yep. We've had some great stories on the channel, and a lot of the cops join to go after the bad guys. But the police can be used as an instrument of the most powerful people in the world to silence people like Russell Brand. They took it to a certain level with me. All of our Epstein content was deleted, and I lost my channel twice. So I was completely silenced from that case 5 years ago. And it was the love and support of you guys, the viewers, lobbying YouTube to get my channel back up that enabled us to keep going. And I thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
But, Julian Assange has been on that trajectory. I've been on it in a small, insignificant way compared to him. And now it appears to me, whether Russell Brand is guilty or not, it's convenient timing that they're going after him to silence him. And it's odd that all these allegations have come about because Channel 4 and the Times fine-tooth combed everybody he'd ever interacted with sexually in his life and urged these people to come forward. These weren't females maturing organically reporting these things to the cops. They're a couple of my issues on this news that's just breaking today.
So it's safe to say that you hashtag I stand with Brand. Is that the slogan?
No, Jen. I stand with freedom of speech and true justice, not a corrupt justice system trying to silence people because they're speaking out about Big Pharma and about the military industrial complex, which are two of the things we speak about on this channel. I don't know Russell Brand. I don't know what he's done in his past. He has been a sleazy guy. We've read his book, he works. But I am finding it rather convenient that he did double down. He didn't shut up when they came after him the first time. He knew they were going to come back at him. He's moved over to America, and it'll be interesting to see whether Trump hands him over, because they're going to have to extradite him now, Jen, back to the UK. It'll be interesting because Trump and Elon were going crazy over Tommy Robinson. Are they going to support Russell Brand like they were supporting Tommy Robinson? It'll be fascinating to see.
Yeah. But it's driving me mad because now there's people out there like the low-level podcaster mentioned who are using the same excuse to try and get out of their accusations.
And that again is a function of when these offences started to be taken more seriously, and which is a good thing. There were evil people who harnessed them through lawfare to destroy people's reputations. And they've done that so many times now, starting with Julian Assange as one of the earlier ones. They've done it so many times now. It takes away from the veracity of genuine survivors' claims. The lawfarers have created this great area now where you don't know who's telling the truth or not.
No, it's sad.
I just want to say to everyone who's watching, I've just posted the Discord link. If any of you guys want to join the Discord and come into the waiting room where the call-in stream section is.
Are we trying to listen to a call-in?
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's easy. It's easy. So
we having some. Jen's not had a call-in, been on a call-in show yet.
Look how excited I am.
It depends.
Come on, please, call in.
It depends if we get any takers or not. But if you want to come and pitch a question, have your say, your input, are you for, are you against? This isn't an echo chamber. You're not going to be berated by us if your opinion is the opposite to what we think. We want to encourage people to voice their opinions, and that is, like I say, we're not an echo chamber. So feel free to say what you want to do. And if you join the Discord, come into where it says call-in streams and go into the waiting room. If there's any of the mods on Discord, if one of you can go into the waiting room, and that's a good signal for where people need to go, I would appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing if any of you want to come and join us.
Well, we've got 2,000 watching live across all platforms, so I'm sure Jen's going to achieve her first call-in. I was so excited when I was doing my first call-in show last week, Jen. It's phenomenal.
I know.
The humanization, being able to speak to people, it's way more human.
Yeah.
Than just
Thing is,
chat.
Sean is just not. That's why Sean has Ron, because Sean is not technological. I can't even get my words out. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Technologically equipped
the
for
thought.
life.
See, if I come down to Sean's and set all of this up for him and give him an A4 sheet with like 4 steps, click this button, click this button, click this button, he'll nail it every single time. He'll nail it, right? But the thought of trying to explain to him, now if you just download StreamYard, and then we're going to create an overlay, and then we're going to get an overlay to connect to your Discord, it's just a nightmare for him. So we will, it's just call SA. It doesn't, even if you accidentally turn on your camera, there's no way for the public to see you. Your names are hidden and all of that. And when we do the call in, I turn off my camera, and you'll see I become the on-air call-in show portal down here. So everything is kept safe for you guys. So you're more than welcome to come and join us.
So while we're waiting for call-ins, then, if you guys have just tuned in, it's the breaking news. Russell Brand is due to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on May 2nd. He's been charged by requisition, which means a legal document notifying the defendant of the prosecution. And we believe he's in America, and that they're going to have to hand him over by extradition, because we've got a huge freedom of speech thing here, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in America, whether they'll just hand him over, or they're going to
well, look,
rally around him.
Let's pause on that point, because we do have our first caller. Crow Mama, are you there? Crow Mama, are you there? Hang on a second. Crow Mama, are you there? Can you hear me, Crow Mama?
Oh my God! Hi.
Hi, just to say you're live on the Sean Atwood channel. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Hello.
How are you feeling about this case? What's your take on this? And thank you for joining us.
I agree with you. It's all very convenient. Yeah, this is the patterns just seem to fall in the right at the right time for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Russell Brand is a spicy dude, but 20 years is a long time.
25.
You know? 25 years. I mean,
25.
come on. It's ridiculous.
Jen, you wanna respond? This is Crow Mama 39.
Yeah, Crow Mama, thanks for joining us and being my first call ever.
Hi, Jen.
So,
I'm excited. Thank you.
Were you a fan of Brand like I was when he was hosting the Big Brother? What was it? The Big Brother show. Yeah, I thought he was fantastic that day.
Yeah. He's very entertaining. He's very good at his job. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, he's always been spicy. That's no secret. It's just whether or not it went over to the dark side.
Right.
Yeah, well, like Ron was saying before, he went to America and he ran back very, very quickly. Yeah, and it all seems to fit in with all the things we're finding out now. It's quite interesting.
Also, as well, just for, given all sides, there's been multiple individuals that I've met through my investigations who are normal people by day, and then they use certain white powders or alcohol to facilitate another side of them to justify more brutal interactions with people. Now, I'm not saying necessarily are, but certainly I've known individuals who are a different person when they unlock that part of themselves with substances. And, Russell Brand, could well fall into that, but you could also not fall into that. But it's one of those paradoxes, really. Sean, You want to just respond as well to Crow Mama there? I mean, she's sort of on side with what we're saying here.
Yeah, it is extremely suspicious. And, regarding him going to Hollywood, we saw the theory that he had observed something to do with when he was with Katy Perry. I'm trying to put her on the screen now, but it's not letting me. There she is. And he had rejected that because he was on such a high upward trajectory on his Hollywood career. I remember watching those, what was it, some rom-com movie with him in where he's playing this English.
Oh, get into the Greek.
Yeah, something like that. And he was obviously making huge amounts of money from those deals. And it seems he could have continued to do so rather than come back to the UK and become an activist.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
And he did a complete 180, didn't he? Something
Yeah.
happened to him over there, and he came back a completely different person.
Yeah.
But being that
Yeah.
he is such a truth speaker, why is he not spoke about what he's seen there? If that is the case, because he exposes everyone.
Because he's probably got a mother that he loves, who he would like to continue living, and family and friends and all this. Like, and again, I know you weren't asking me, so I'll be quiet. Sorry, Crow Mama, when you go, please answer.
I don't think he wants
I was
Katy Perry to
about
put
to
X
say a
on
similar
him.
thing. Yeah, it was probably so dark and scary. Even he's keeping his mouth shut just in case.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't let him. They shut him up instantly. You know, like you say, his mother, his sister, his whatever.
100%.
Like best friend. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. In the dark, twisted minds of true cartel level criminality, if you've got children, a girlfriend, a wife, a mother, any living relatives, those are your soft spots. Those are your weaknesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, Crow Mama, thank you so much for coming and joining us. You were Jen's first caller, so a massive
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Mama.
Oh, thank you. I'm so
Well,
excited.
Sean, you've got to give her an honorary crow noise to say goodbye.
You want me to do a crow noise? I'm sorry.
I want Sean to make a crow noise.
Sean Atwood that signs the checks, okay? He's the one that signs the checks.
Demonstrate that, Jen, please.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Our next caller is Digital Artisan. Digital Artisan, are you there? Digital Artisan, are you there?
He even refused when he was entitled
I'm
to half.
here.
On you go, Sean. 1 second, Artisan. On you go, Sean.
Yeah, when he was entitled to half of Katy Perry's estate because of the divorce, he there was no prenup, and he refused to take her to the cleaners.
Yeah, that's because he doesn't want to be any attachment to any evidence that could be found there in a future investigation that his name could be linked to. Now, Digital Artisan, thank you very much for coming and joining us. You're live on the Sean Atwood channel. Where do you sit with all of this? And thanks very much for giving up your time.
Cheers.
Thanks for giving me a voice. I've been a fan of Brand since about 2007, 2008. Been to his shows, bought his books, went through his whole Hollywood crazy Katy Perry sort of period. And then I was really happy within the last five years or so when he gave all that mental sort of Hollywood stuff up, and he seemed more grounded, he seemed more spiritual. He hadn't gone full Jesus yet, but he was definitely more spiritual. He was more about kind of sharing the truth and all that sort of thing. But then within the last couple of years, I noticed another significant switch. He all of a sudden was baptized. He gave up veganism, which was a big part of his previous life, and I believe that the veganism, he had to give that up because that doesn't align with his creationism part of Christianity. And it didn't make sense to me at all. None of it made sense. I thought, is he doing it to get a better American audience? Is it purely he's going for the Bible Belt sort of part of America? but then this comes along, and I'm not saying that this accusation is true, but it would make more sense, that behavior.
Okay, so you're saying, from your angle, it's almost like he's repenting, and that's why he's been pulled closer to his religious faith. Is that what you're saying? It's like the guilt's drawn him in.
I'd go a step further and say that it's a potential shield. I think he saw it coming. Potentially.
What about Digital Artisan? He had God scared into him by what he could have seen during the Perry chapter of his life. What do you think the possibility of that, or is that just a little too far?
I think there's a bit of a delay then. I think that if he was scared, and I'm sure Katy Perry would scare anyone living with her, but I don't know. I think the timing seems.
Yeah, I think
that's suspicious to me.
That's
and again, I don't want this to be true. And as I said, I've got all these books. I've been to multiple shows. I've cuddled the man himself. You know, at one of his shows, he was a real hero of mine. But the last couple of years, this switch, it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't know if it was for money. I didn't know if it was what it was, and this would be an answer. I don't know if it is. It could all be BS.
It's interesting.
But I hope it is. I really do.
Yeah.
But it would make sense.
Yeah.
If he saw it coming down the pipeline and he thought, okay, how can I handle this? What's the best way about going about this? And then, that's one option. But I don't think to be an expert.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great take.
Digital Artisan, can I ask you a question? When you hugged him, did he smell of regret?
No, he smelled quite pleasant, actually.
It was all his testosterone.
One of his shows, he did a sort of intermission meet and greet, with take a photo, because he doesn't like phones being used during his shows, because what he says live is very different from what his YouTube shows were saying. So he was very heavy with the security on people with their videos and phones.
See, yeah.
Sean, what's your take? I mean, it's an interesting point of view from Digital Artisan there about the possible shift into deeper religion as a shield or whatever. Now, obviously, we all know where you stand on this, but it's an interesting take, right? What's your where does that land with you?
Well, he's matured as a person. He's settled down, had kids. He was doing his yoga practice and all that kind of stuff. And I think that one of the things that the viewer just touched on was that he may have been steeling himself for this day, and he's mentally prepared for it, and he's in America because he knew it was coming, and maybe he's got some kind of backup plan that we haven't contemplated that he can put into play from America, probably in the legal system out there. He's probably already got lawyers on retainer in America. They've probably gone over all the different scenarios that could happen and what they can best do to counter these allegations. So I don't think this has caught him by surprise. And, hearing what was just said then, it makes me think that he's kind of been steering his life towards this moment, because he did get the opportunity to shut up and just go away. And when he refused to do so, when it all broke out the first time, I said, this guy's got massive cojones, because he's taking on the most powerful, evil, psychopathic people in the world, the kind of people who can JFK you in a heartbeat. To double down and to continue to go against them, knowing he could get JFK'd, he must have some kind of contingency plans in place to protect himself. And that's probably why he's in America, where the pendulum has moved away from scummy starmers, putting people away for Facebook posts, to Elon and Trump and the presidential decree for freedom of speech. Perhaps he's got more leeway over there, and he's going to have political and legal backing so he can best defend himself rather than getting snatched out of, where does he live? Grays, London, is it? Where he originally from? Getting snatched out of there by the Starmer's Gestapo and ending up in, what's the Cathay one that Belmarsh prison, where they had Julian Assange holed up, getting ill and not getting fair treatment. He at least avoided that scenario, the Julian Assange scenario. And he's probably, he saw what they did to Julian, and he's took notes, and he's got legal people and advisors, and he's prepared.
Digital Artisan, what's your take on what Sean just said there? Where does that land with you there, mate?
Yeah, I think definitely the cultural and political and legal divide between the two nations would definitely create at least, if not more difficult, but a longer, more drawn out process. And then who knows what can happen in that time. You know, someone could withdraw statements, other evidence could come to light, all that sort of thing. So, you know, who knows? And again, I agree the fact that this is a 20-year charge or, you know, accusation. I just recently learned that England and Wales don't have a statute of limitations on the R word. And I think they're one of the few Western nations that don't have a statute of limitations. So I may be wrong about that. But I actually originally thought perhaps he'd gone full Catholic because he was relapsing, you know, because I know that he did the 12 steps in order to overcome his original addiction 20 years ago. And I was hoping that maybe that's why he'd gone back to religion and become baptized, because he was always spiritual, and I appreciated that. It was a very anti-organized religion, and then boom, that switched on a dime. It really changed so quickly. Next thing you see, he's on YouTube in his pants getting dunked underwater, baptized, and every video now he's talking about Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And it just, I don't know, it just felt something. I felt that there was some sort of grift. I don't know what it was, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's as you suggested, Ron, maybe he is feeling extremely guilty and he wants to repent. Maybe it is a shield, or maybe it's something else that none of us know. So, yeah, I just thought I would.
You honestly, you have a really valid point there, Digital Artisan. But and Sean, that made me think of you 20 years ago and where you were, which is in Arizona County Jail, repaying for your sins when you were under the influence. Like, can you not see that where Russell was 20 years ago is not who he is now? And
yeah, absolutely. Where he is now, he's a completely different person. If he's guilty, he's got to face the consequences, irrespective, because it's, you know, even if you change and become a better person, it doesn't get you off the hook. But if he's not done it, if it is just lawfare, then hopefully he can get a court process that is not corrupt and show that he's innocent of these allegations that have come about because mainstream media entities, the same people who told us Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and the same people who today are telling us Iran has got weapons of mass destruction, it's the same media entities who we cannot listen to because they just lied our asses off for the vested interests, are the ones who found these women and encouraged them to say these things about Russell for the documentary and for the newspaper. And then they put a shout out across the internet and across global media for more survivors to come forward. And I don't know 100% whether the allegations that have come about today all relate to the ladies who made their claims in the documentary and the Times, or other ones have come out from the shout out that they put after the documentary came out, asking others to come forward. But if he was a serial R worder, I mean, it was so prevalent. It was all over the world asking people to come forward. You would think that some serious survivors would have come forward with some solid claims against him.
Well, there's a point here from Bailey, and I actually wrote this down in my notes. Has Russell actually ever been caught at a Diddy party?
So there are pictures of
Some
Russell
together.
and Diddy. Let me find them. Russell.
Hang on, what was your response there, Artisan?
So they did a film together, so perhaps they had a rap party. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
other than hanging out, I don't know if they followed in the same circles.
Okay, yeah. So that was in response to was he ever at a Diddy party? And Artisan, he gives a great perspective from someone who's followed Brand's career, been a fan, noted the shifts in his life. And I just want to say, Digital Artisan, thank you for coming and joining us. And you're more than welcome to wait in the waiting room. If you want to make another point at a later point in the show or another time, it would be great. But if there's anything else you want to throw in, we have got another caller about to come in. So anything else you want to say, Digital Artisan, before that happens?
No, thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thanks for coming
joining.
on.
Thank
Really
you, man.
valuable.
Okay, at this point, everybody, can we do some liking and some subscribing, some pushing out this this show? You can see there's a new logo on the screen, Discord Colin Show. When you see that on the screen, you'll know what you need to do is click on the Discord link, come and join the server, and go and wait in the waiting room. Now, Mummy Mayhem, you are next. Mummy Mayhem, are you there? You're live on the Sean Atwood channel. Are you there?
Hey, how you going?
Very good. Thank you very much for joining us. You're live on the Sean Atwood channel. What's your take on this? And thank you very much for joining us.
I just want to say hi. I love you guys. Love all your work. Follow all your channels. Buying all the books and all that. So thanks for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mayhem Mummy. I know it's Mummy Mayhem, but I like Mayhem Mummy.
I know that's what mummyhood is, isn't it? All mayhem. You know, I think the whole thing's sad. You know, years ago, loved Russell Brand's comedy, all that sort of stuff, but I was a lot younger then too. I just think it's sad. I think he's known that this is coming for a while, like you guys were saying previously. But I do think you can grow and change, but to have still done some horrific things in your past. And if anything, his new religion, I think, will teach him that he still has to repent, and that he may feel that his sins have been washed away. They haven't been in the eyes of his alleged victims. So even though I think he has great things to say against the establishment, history has told me that these people we put on pedestals that may share our views, they often have shady pasts and have done awful things. Two things can be true at once. So, yeah, I just find the whole thing sad, and I really hope that people's love for him and his ideology doesn't take away from what these women have maybe gone through.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a hard line to follow. It's like to tread.
Do
So
you know what also could be quite prevalent, Mummy Mayhem, is this could have happened and Russell Brand may have no memory of it, and he may be living with this concern of, did something happen? And I'm not saying by any means that is the case, but you know, just going by, I mean, I know how the amount of savagery that I was doing at house parties to myself in my 20s.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I played it safe. I always slept under a table at a house party. That was the safe place.
Well, it wasn't a good house party unless you ended up under a table.
100%. You always, no one will steal your wallet. You're under the coffee table. No one's coming under there for you, right? Do you know what I'm saying? No one's coming over at all.
Not if that wallet's covered in vomit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sean, Mummy Mayhem, of course, thanks for being here. What I mean, there seems to be a lot of people leaning into the religious side and what that could mean. And of course, I never spotted that at all. It's an interesting angle on all this. I mean, you may have just already explained that to the last call-in viewer, Sean, but it's interesting that it's been a repeated pattern of this being observed by people, right?
Well, when you think back at the great speech of George Bush, supported by Tony Blur slobbering up his backside, saying Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction so they could do this war on terror and make billions of dollars at the taxpayers' expense. Tony Blair converted to Catholicism, hadn't he? So obviously, and if you read the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene, who we've also had on the channel, talks about the weaponization of religion, cloaking yourself in spirituality. And these demonic souls, they are Orwellian inversions, aren't they? They hide the demonic sides. They try to cloak them in some kind of religious or spiritual fashion. So that indeed is a Machiavellian strategy employed by the elites. Now, with Russell Brand, I've watched some of his shows. I've actually got, there was a young person who was a public speaker who I met through the public speaking circuit, who was a friend of Russell Brand and used to tell me stories of how, Russell Brand was helping him and stuff like that, and had loads of positive things to say about him. And this kid was into yoga and stuff like that as well. And I think, didn't Russell date or marry his yoga instructor? Or was that his previous? I can't remember. But he obviously was deep into Eastern philosophy and that kind of spirituality. But perhaps because he's got this plan now out of America to protect himself, he has moved towards Christianity to fit in better with that community. That's just my preliminary thoughts.
Okay. Sorry, Ron is doing production. I just realized Jen wasn't here. Sorry, mate. I'm typing to a guest, and I thought Jen was there to respond to you, and I've just looked up and Jen's mic's off, and I only caught the last two things you said. So I've looked up and just went, yeah, of course. So apologies about that. I was doing production there. But Mummy Mayhem, let's just pretend like I just listened to Sean. What's your take on what Sean's just said?
No, I think he's right, because isn't there a saying that religion is the last bastion of the scoundrel?
That is the quote of the day right there.
And I think you'll find throughout history, especially Hollywood, especially like I'll just use for an example, the Baldwin brothers, like not Alec, but the other ones, Steve, I think it is. He's quite religious, Hailey Bieber's dad, whoever, Stephen Baldwin, I think it is. Yeah, he was a born-again Christian, and I saw, he's all about religion and everything. And then I looked into it. He became a born-again Christian when footage was found of him cheating on his wife, coming out of a hotel with a family friend. So I just find it kind of convenient that a lot of these types of people perhaps turn to God to cleanse themselves, to cleanse their image. And I know like Russell has had a very spiritual past, and I do believe he's done good work. But also too, like, just because he's nice and good to one area of the population doesn't mean he always has been to another. And especially looking at footage of like Jimmy Savile and stuff like that, like there's a lot of footage of interviews with Russell Brand with female TV presenters that is quite like cringy, and he's really pushing himself on these women like quite openly. And like there's a particular interview from 60 Minutes in Australia. Liz Hayes was the reporter with him at the time. He fully goes in and like kisses her on the mouth and stuff, but it's all charming. It's Russell, But if that was like your mum or your daughter at work, it's really quite work. Like, so I think there's a lot of sides to people. Just because he hasn't been gross with everybody and good to some people means that he's a great person. Like, yeah, that's, I guess, what it is. You're not all good, you're not all bad, you're some side of all of it. So I think it's just really hard. It's just sad for everyone involved, because he does have good things to say. He's got a good platform, and it's a shame that I think the alleged victims will get lost in this Like, look at what's happened with Virginia Guthrie this week. You know, she's been brought up again, or she's lying about everything again. So I just feel really for alleged victims that this will really trigger
Yeah,
what's
100%.
happening.
100%.
Well
Especially
said.
when we look at the fact this is a quarter of a century ago and how many victims out
Yeah.
there want justice,
Yeah.
don't have a voice, struggle. And yeah, I mean, that really was a great point. I just want to say to everybody, at about 8 o'clock tonight, we've got a guest coming on who was in a relationship with Russell Brand right round about the time that these accusations happened. She's going to come on. I'm refining down what it's either going to be exactly as we're doing now, live interview. It may be pre-recorded. We're just seeing where she sits with her comfort on the whole situation, if that makes sense. I like to give everybody all the options, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, if you want to tell your story, but you want to be protected, and you prove to us your story behind the scenes and who you are and all that stuff, that means we vouch for you and it's our reputation, and that's how you protect the source. And it's always fair to give people all the options. You can not show your face and be live and have your voice protected. You can be pre-recorded, and if you're a woman, I can make your voice into a Scottish Highland sounding guy, so there's no possible way of tracing back to you. But it's going to be an interesting interview because she's going to give her encounters with Russell Brand, just like our last caller did, you know, except she was on the inside. She was one of his partners. She did see some interesting things, but I think to get an inside character analysis is going to be fascinating. And I commend her for doing that, you know, because all of this can be scary. Okay, even if there's absolutely no slander, there's nothing that's going to happen. She's just telling her story. It can be scary. So we respect that here, and I'll keep you all updated as I know more. But Mummy Mayhem, that was I'll just go with Mayhem, actually. Then we'll lose the first name.
Mummy, yeah, if Ron starts calling you mummy, it might be a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I've already said it once, and that's going to end up somewhere on freaking Twitter.
I know, it's probably like a bad name somewhere or something.
It's fine. It's fine. Now, Mummy Mayhem, I just want to say thank you very much for coming and joining us. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
No problem.
Any viewers who are watching, please click on the Discord link, sign up to Discord, come and join the waiting room. And Mummy Mayhem, we will speak to you again. And thank you for joining us and giving up your time.
No worries. Thanks. Love to you all, and to your little babies and little Ziggy and the new addition.
Congratulations. Mummy, he's at nursery today. I'll be back at 6. I can't wait. I hate it when he's
okay. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Here, do you know what? You never thought about this, right? You know how is Ziggy, like, he's running about and stuff now, right? Or is that right? Yeah. So have you thought about getting a small tire, right, filling it up with some concrete and just tying it around him on a belt and having him run around to tire him out, dragging the tire about? Because that is I'm telling you, that'll knacker him out. That'll knacker out.
And we'll also have the NSPCC knocking on the door.
He's training. Just say he's training, man. He's training for the toddler Olympics, man. He's training for the toddler Olympics.
So Jen, we're talking about people hiding behind religion.
I know. I've been listening. I look like I left Ron in the lurch here, but it's during the day. It's like a circus here, but with no clowns apart from you. But no, what do you?
That was savage. That was savage.
What do we think of the whole Jesus-loving Christianity move? I mean, his spiritual stance I understood, but then to jump over to Christian, I can't get my words up today. It's that.
Well, Jed, I can give you a response to that. I can give you
it's kind of doesn't really sit with where he's been the past 5 years.
Well, Jen, here's the thing. You know, the more you look into the cabal, mysteries of the world, the hidden knowledge, all of this, the more you hear about this person called Jesus, right? And he is a central figure. So remove Christianity, remove the Bible, remove all of that from Jesus, okay? There are multiple different stories about what Jesus was, who he was, interpretations of his words, all of this. And it's almost like I've seen people who are hardcore into the truth turn to Jesus, but it's got nothing really to do with Christianity. It's
No.
entirely to do with this figure of Jesus, and like things like the Book of Enoch, and a lot of all the stuff that's edited out of the Bible that you don't want to hear about Jesus, I believe is at the center for a lot of these people who do go and find Jesus. But it's not Christianity, it's not Catholicism, it's Jesus. And it's hard to separate the two, but there's something going on there, and that's my
But
take.
there's something going on there, and what I don't agree with is like I'm reading a book at the moment. I've just finished it called "You Are the Goddess," and it explains all different goddesses. And one of them in there was Mary Magdalene, which obviously she got demonized in the Bible, made out to be a lady of the night and whatnot, when in fact she helped Jesus, allegedly, obviously, out of the cave on what we celebrate Easter. And he performed 7 healing sessions on her. So he very much was a healer. And see, I've never read the Bible. I went to a Christian primary school, and yeah, I didn't take that much of it in, to be fair. But it doesn't sit with the spirituality he's been putting across on his, because he does I don't know whether he's doing it this year, obviously, a yearly festival here in the UK, which has tons of curtain, tons of yoga. It's all very, I'd say, Hindu supporting, and then now he's gone to that side. I don't get it. It doesn't.
It does. It does, because you're still looking at Jesus as being part of Christianity. You're looking at him. You're looking at deities and religions. So when you have a deity that you are following, you may not follow the religion it's attached to because of the knowledge you have of that deity. And your analysis there of the two religions is the problem. Remove the religion, focus on the deities, and Jane, I'll be honest, this is a painful rabbit hole. We are talking about,
it does sound like it, and that's why I don't delve into it. I go, I like the sound of that one. I take parts of religion and go, I like the sound of that one, but I don't go in.
When you start hearing about it, you realize it's nothing to do with the religions. You have to remove the religions and look at the deities, and how many of these deities have connections through stories and tech. It's wild, and it puts in perspective how non-religious people are now following a deity that has a connection to a huge religion, but it's not about the religion. Also, it looks like you have white lipstick on and a white chin.
I know, right? I've got to say though, Ron, you would make an excellent cult leader.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, listen, you make more money. You make more money as a leader. You have more fun as a follower. Okay, it's a toss up, right? But anyway, look, we've got Lisa B, our very own wonderful Lisa from the mod team, calling in. Lisa B, are you there?
I'm here.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you? How are the little
Hey,
dogs?
Lisa B, I always see you in the chat. You're fantastic.
Yeah.
Hello, Jen and Sean. How are you?
Hello, Lisa B. You are ever present. We appreciate that.
I know. Well, I've followed the show since all the Epstein stuff, and I love your interview skills, Sean. You know that, and I love all your books. I've not read all of them yet, but I'm working on it. But yes, I'm a fan.
I wouldn't bother reading the rest. I use them as coasters.
How dare you? How dare you, Jen? How dare you?
How very dare you?
I'm not being funny though. There is some quite funny stories about every single Amazon delivery man who comes to Sean's house gets a copy of Sean's book.
Oh gosh.
Amazon delivery, like delivery. They all got. I'm like, have you given him a copy of Hard Time? He's like, yeah. Gives him out like sweet.
It's not like he's a crazy person. The man has his own publication company. Do you know what I'm saying? He's going to have stock of his own books. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not hard. It's not that hard. If you're also the author and the guy who owns the publication company, you're going to have copies of your books. But yeah,
clogging up my garage.
Do you know what would be quite funny? We should get like actual coasters made that are the size, like book covers of all Sean's books as limited edition coasters that people can have a set of Sean's. Anyway, shut up, Ron. Lisa B. Lisa B.
Yes.
Your take on all of this.
So I've kind of got foot in both sides. I'm a survivor of CSA.
Okay.
So I've got that side of things, and it was for many years. So it has some play in this, but I'm also, innocent till proven guilty. So I'm definitely in the middle of the road when it comes to this. He's a controversial character. I also think that he probably moved to where he's at. He's literally an hour away from where I live right now, currently in Northwest Florida. He's living in north of Panama City Beach, Santa Rosa Beach, I think is where he actually lives. And many of my friends and people around here have actually met the guy and said, "Oh, he's so nice and polite, and there's not a, they couldn't imagine him doing half of the things that he's been accused of." But this is the guy that's walking down. You don't walk anywhere in the US. You don't. You kind of get looked on as being a bit weird. But he's walking down 30A, which is a very long stretch of road, trying to thumb a lift. And that's the kind of person he is. And this made kind of local news that he's walking down this big long road trying to thumb a lift, and you don't do that here. So it was hilarious, and I'm laughing. Well, Sean, you don't go anywhere and try and get a lift just from some random people on the side of the road. You just don't do it here. And you don't walk everywhere either, because there's no sidewalks in a lot of places. But I'm very mixed about him. I have very mixed feelings about him.
Okay.
The fact that he was open about his addictions, the fact that and that people say he's a narcissist, he's this, he's that. They show I don't know. He's a very controversial character to me.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty honest take. I mean, I think a lot of people, if they're maybe a little bit on the fence, I think there is the sense of no smoke without fire with some people, right? And that you're not going to be criticized for that at all, especially if you're a survivor. You probably will.
And thank you for sharing, Lisa. That must be tough.
Oh, but yeah. I mean,
there's the old saying, isn't there? Like, there's their version, his version, and somewhere in the middle, the truth.
Yes, exactly, and that's where I'm at with it all. Is it that he just got absolutely blotto drunk, and whoever he was with did the same, and then they woke up and somebody's living with regret from one or both sides? Who knows? And they are the only ones that really can answer that question. I don't know, consenting adults, maybe, that just went wrong. It's really, really a hard one to say. It's a very difficult subject.
I agree.
So of course I'm going to side on victims because of being a former victim of abuse. Of course I am. That's just the way it is. And I worked with a police organization in the UK before I moved to the States years ago, called Victim Support. And it's shocking how many people don't come forward, don't want to come forward because they're too scared. We had a young man, a 17-year-old man, that was G-raped, or GR'd. Sorry, I shouldn't say that word, but he was GR'd, and he didn't want to come forward. And we actually helped him through his court case and through all the mess of that. And bless his heart, I just can't imagine from somebody like that. It's difficult, and it is scary. It is so scary to face your abuser, to sit in a courtroom and not know what on earth is going to happen, because that's happened to me too. At least I got to face my abuser in court, but many people don't get that. They don't get that opportunity.
And that's how Jimmy Savile got away with it for so long. So there's been a development in this breaking story while you've been speaking, and Russell Brand has responded to the allegations. So if you've just tuned in, Russell's been charged with several counts of SA in the UK. This has come from the London police today. And the investigation remains open. They're encouraging anyone else to come forward. So Russell Brand is denying any wrongdoing. He stated that while he has had numerous sexual relations, they were always consensual. And speaking to conservatives, speaking to Tucker Carlson in January, he described the accusations against him as very, very painful. Oh, so this actually is not a response from today. They're just quoting him from a previous interview he's done with Tucker Carlson. Let me correct that. Here's what he said. I am aware that I put myself in an extremely vulnerable position by being very, very promiscuous. That is not the type of conduct I endorse, and it's certainly not how I would live now. So I imagine he's going to come out with a statement along those lines probably later today. It's quite early still in America, isn't it?
It is 10:31, and I'm on Central Standard Time here. So where I'm at. But he's, did he move to the States to get away from old demons? I know you guys are restricted on what you can talk about over there, which really sucks. I moved to the US well over 20 years ago. I've lived half and half my life, probably more in the States than I have in the UK, and the countries are not even recognizable to me anymore. It's unrecognizable. I feel bad for anybody that has to live there and not be able to voice their opinions and how they feel about things. So I get that he moved here to the States to get away from that, but is it that he's getting away from other demons? Who knows?
Two of those demons.
Sorry, Sean. That statement sounds like an admission of guilt.
Almost.
Yeah.
Can you read? Can you read the statement again, Sean?
So that was what he said to Tucker Carlson. He's just basically said he was a bad person in the past, sleazy, but now he's reformed. But one of those demons that he's trying to get away from is Dame Caroline Dinenage, the chair of the Culture, Media and Sport Committee, who on the 20th of September 2023 wrote to Rumble Chief Executive Chris Pavlovski that I am writing concerning the serious allegations regarding Russell Brand in the context of his being a content provider on Rumble with more than 1.4 million followers. The Culture, Media and Sport Committee is raising questions with the broadcasters and production companies who previously employed Mr. Brand to examine both the culture of the industry in the past and whether that culture still prevails today. However, we are also looking at his use of social media, including on Rumble, where he issued his preemptive response to the accusations made against him by the Times and Channel 4 dispatches. While we recognize that Rumble is not the creator of the content published by Brand, we are concerned he may be able to profit from his content on this platform. We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Brand is able to monetize his content, including his videos relating to the serious accusations against him. If so, we would like to know whether Rumble intends to join YouTube in suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money on your platform. We would also like to know what Rumble is doing to ensure that creators are not able to use the platform to undermine the welfare of victims of inappropriate and potentially illegal behavior. And that is government intervention without even having a conviction.
Was there any mention of how harmful his content could be, how dangerous of a man he is? It was all about get that check away from the man. Get his bag removed. You can keep on talking, Russell, but if you're getting paid for it, it ain't happening, my G. Wild.
Well, demonetizing him to punish him.
Here's what Rumble responded to Dame Caroline Dinenage. Today, we received an extremely disturbing letter from a committee chair in the UK Parliament. While Rumble obviously deplores SAR word and all serious crimes and believes that both alleged victims and the accused are entitled to a full and serious investigation, it is vital to note that recent allegations against Russell Brand have nothing to do with content on Rumble's platform. Just yesterday, YouTube announced that based solely on these media accusations, it was barring Brand from monetizing his video content. Rumble stands for very different values. We have devoted ourselves to the vital cause of defending a free internet, meaning an internet where no one arbitrarily dictates which ideas can or cannot be heard, or which citizens may or may not be entitled to a platform. We regard it as deeply inappropriate and dangerous that the UK Parliament would attempt to control who is allowed to speak on our platform or to earn a living from doing so. Singling out an individual and demanding his ban is even more disturbing given the absence of any connection between the allegations and his content on Rumble. We don't agree with the behavior of many Rumble creators, but we refuse to penalize them for actions that have nothing to do with our platform, although it may be politically and socially easier for Rumble to join a cancel culture mob. Doing so would be a violation of our company's values and mission. We emphatically reject the UK Parliament's demands. Now, have you ever heard of a case in your life where someone's accused of something like this and the government, your government, jumps on it at the highest level to get you deplatformed and shut down without a criminal conviction? And there's supposed to be a presumption of innocence before you're convicted of a crime.
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is the same government that's protecting people at the top that are pedos. Let's face it. You
Yeah.
know,
And
let's
grooming
not
gangs
beat around the
and
bush.
Savile and Hugh Edwards
Allegedly.
and Schofield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just a double standard system as far as the
It's a
government
mess.
there is
It's a hot
concerned.
mess here, and we have had enough. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it's my heart goes out to all you guys
So here's
having
the
to deal
thing.
with all this
So
crap.
here's the thing. Jen making a profound statement there. We've had enough, right? So
Yes.
our grandfathers, when they had enough, revolution happened. So is that where it ends for our generation? You say we've had enough and then you just go back about your day. Are you guys willing to
You
make
are Ron.
No,
We're talking about
he's closing us
verbal,
down.
Well, run. Yeah.
verbal,
Wait, what?
we're
Be
having
careful.
a verbal discussion here, hypothetical verbal discussion.
Oh yeah, it's very
here.
hypothetical. But I'm just saying that's
We are. Let's move on from that, please. Let's move
All
on
right,
from that.
Okay, yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like we're very passive. And is it that that's a better way of putting this? Well, we're very passive nowadays, right? We feel like we have the power because of the internet, right? And we feel like that we have this power. But look at what's happening to Britain right now. We vote against something, the government does it anyway. We have a place where we have a voice and we have our own media outlets. They put in the Internet Safety Act. Okay, we have individuals like Russell Brand who may or may not have seen something but goes against mainstream media and is passed and allegations are weaponized against him. And are we a passive generation that feels like, okay, well, I've moaned about it on social media, enough's enough now? Because we're of that mindset, and look what's happened here. That's a better way of putting it, right? That was much better.
No, but that's why me, myself and Sean and you, Ron, use this platform not just to have a moan and a whinge. We use it to interview victims of, the GG and serious crimes, to give them a voice. So people, it is about opening people's eyes, because we can't go out and cause an uproar. We'll end up in prison, but we can open the public's eyes to what is truly going on, and that's what Russell Brand was doing.
Well, it's funny.
And we know from interviewing all these survivors, recently we interviewed Kate, who was R-worded by over 70 men from the grooming gang stuff, that the government doesn't give a crap about survivors unless it is convenient. Unless it is convenient for them, such as the case of Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Or they pass away and they can no longer tell any of the secrets that they've died with, aka Jimmy Schwavel. But Lisa, look, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to pick on Casabear now. She hates it when I drag her in here, but she's going to get dragged in here.
She loves it. Don't let her kid you that. She loves it.
Right. Cheers, Lisa. You have a great day. I'll speak to you
soon.
You're
welcome. You too. Nice talking to you guys.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Oh, she's loved.
Casabear. Are you there? Casa?
Hello?
Casabear.
Yes, what?
I've just dragged you in your live on the show now with Shannon.
Oh no, I didn't want to be.
You're like, yeah.
What's your take on this? What's your take on it, Casa?
What we're talking? Oh, Russell Brand.
Russell Brand, yes.
I don't think you want to know really, but
okay. Are you? I take it you're not on the side of Mr. Brand. Are you very much like no smoke without fire, or where do you stand with it? It's okay, by the way.
I think
You
I
can-
think it like I agree with Sean. I think it's like there's another agenda here. It's all convenience. Like the part when the media were saying like come forward and things like that. I mean, why would they do that?
We don't see them saying come forward if you're a grooming gang survivor, do we?
No.
No,
They
exactly.
don't do a public inquiry, do they?
We voted it
No.
down.
It's
Hmm.
Yeah,
crazy.
honestly,
It's,
I'll be honest. It's actually scary that just you guys saying that's the thing that gave me the heebie-jeebies, because there was a woman down south who was arrested by 8 policemen. Her husband, sorry, was arrested by 8 policemen for discussing a headmaster and how that headmaster's performance was at their child's school in a private WhatsApp group with other parents. Was arrested and charged under the internet, whatever it is, thing that we just talked about.
oh, for God's
Online
sake.
online safety. Online
That's
safety
a
act.
private group. That's like, oh, me and the boys, we've got a freaking fishing private WhatsApp group. Somebody mouse off about the Prime Minister, jail. That's where we're at now. Do you know what I mean? And you may find that over the next week or two, Sean and I, when we're talking about the Prime Minister and these things, we may be having to readjust our algorithmic terminology to super awesome Prime Minister guy, because we don't want anyone to have any shock or be, what's the terminology they use, mate? In the Internet Safety Act, it was something really vague. It was a distress. If anyone causes distress with a social media post, that's where the law steps in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, for God's sake. So,
Honestly.
I mean, everybody these days is offended by everything.
Right.
So,
Yeah, if I still had my old channel, there would be a hot load of deleting happening right now. It would be like click, 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 because the things that you could say 5-6 years ago are so different now, Sean, right? And YouTube don't tend to say, okay, well, here's where the rules changed. If you've broken the rules 5 years ago, it's okay because you didn't know, it's a difference in time. They're just not like that. And it's a scary concept moving forward.
And that's what we got to say. Keir Starmer, he's not a bad guy. He's fantastic. Right. He's doing a great job. Okay.
Super awesome. Yes.
Amazing.
Hang on.
I hope he does another 10 years.
Yes. Another 22 billion in lost funds. Let's go.
Right. Don't mind.
Take all my tax money, Keir, and spend it bombing countries around the world.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. This is what we forget. We are the people. We vote these people in to work for us. They, we don't work for them. They work for us. I'm going to go on a rant, so maybe I'll go.
That's okay. Listen, Kaza, I like to just drag you in here when I know that you're doing the modding and the Discord stuff and half paying attention to things and catching you off guard. It's my new favorite thing. So thanks for coming and joining. Thanks for
such a wee bum.
Cheers, Kaza. Love you, sister.
Yes, thank you.
All right, everybody. If anyone else would like to come and join us, I'll post the Discord link again. I'm just going to go and refill my goblet with some delicious water. Sean has vanished, and Jen.
And it's just me looking at a picture of Russell Brand. Oh no, Sean is there.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Yeah. So, is there any more developing news on Russell Brand?
Do you want me to check the latest? Let's have a
Yes,
look.
please.
And put a 1 in the chat if you think Russell is being subjected to lawfare. Put a 2 in the chat if you think Russell is guilty and he needs to get sent down.
It is a real mixed bag of opinions when it comes to this, isn't it? Like, I honestly thought it would be predominantly ones, a majority of ones, but it just seems like quite an even kill here.
Well, here's the thing. I think a lot of people are just on the fence of, if it turns out he didn't do it, not surprised. If it turns out he did do it, I wouldn't be surprised. You see what I mean? It's a weird mental dynamic because, he has been very open about his promiscuousness and all the rest of it. But again, that doesn't mean that you're a monster or a predator or anything like that. It's just, a lot of people will judge that, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
it's something to keep in mind for sure.
So the latest story that's come out is, who is Russell Brand's wife? Laura, comedian charged with R Word and SA. He remarried in 2017. He shared his thoughts about former wife Katy Perry just hours before the charges were made public, and we read those earlier on in the stream. These charges come after detectives started looking into a series of accusations made in September 2023, which were published by the Sunday Times and Channel 4's dispatches. So they came after those. They were all published. Who is Laura? Laura has been married to Laura for 8 years. They dated briefly before his first marriage to Katy Perry when he was an up-and-coming comedian. At the time, he said he was not interested in monogamy. They reconnected 8 years later in 2015 after both had suffered heartache. Laura, sister's broadcaster Kirsty, once told the couple's story on the podcast Made by Mamas, where she said, "I hadn't seen Russell for years. He was so different. We both immediately knew it was going to be serious. You have to rebuild your foundations and trust again. We did it the right way. It was very slow. It was getting to know each other and going out on day trips together." So her father is a Scottish golfer, a Ryder Cup captain. She grew up in Surrey, in one of the most exclusive states in the UK. And they were introduced in 2007 by her sister Kirsty. We met when she was 19 and I was 30. She fully loves me for what I am, Brand once told stylist. She's not interested in the famous person at all. They reconnected in East London. My ex had literally moved out of our flat that day, and I was heartbroken with mascara running down my face. She said, a friend dragged me out on a walk to the canal in East London, where I'd never been in my life. And as we came onto the footpath, Russell was standing there like he'd organized it. They resumed dating, and it became serious quickly. I remember him saying, "I think I want a quiet life and a family." And it was exactly what I wanted. So then it was about seeing if we could build a foundation to make that happen. They got married in August 2017, marrying in a church ceremony near their home in Oxfordshire. The friends and family, as well as daughter Mabel. And then, so he was married to Katy Perry for almost 2 years, from October 23 to 2010 to 2012, sorry. On April 4th, just being charged, Russell Brand spoke candidly about his relationship with Perry, reflecting on his marriage and referring to Perry as an extraordinarily massive star. He tweeted on X, "When I was married to Katy Perry, there was nothing off-key with her, nor was she involved in anything nefarious. Our marriage didn't work out for normal human reasons. I have nothing but respect for her, plus my daughters love Katy Perry." That's something that he's just tweeted today before these charges came out. So Russell has 3 kids. There was Mabel, and then Peggy, and then a son in 2023. They don't share updates about their kids on social media very frequently, but around the time Mabel was born, Russell said he loved being a father. Taking part in the show Megyn Kelly, he told the host Megyn Kelly, "She's so beautiful and so glorious and so full of joy and love." And he added in a joke that his daughter was a vicious, vindictive, villainous little character who kept pulling at his chest hairs.
But on a serious note, just imagine what his wife and kids are going through right now. I know some of them are quite young and probably don't understand, but it must be horrific if this is all false and they're dragging him through the mud. This is affecting his whole family.
Do you think Dame Caroline Dinenage gives a shit?
No, she eats her Weetabix at night.
Yes. Right, folks, we're almost at 2 hours. I think we're going to conclude it here, unless you guys have got anything to say to the viewers before we move on. Ron, what have you got tonight?
Well, I'll announce that we definitely have an interview coming up with one of Russell Brand's ex-girlfriends who she was involved with him round about this period of time. And once I have that all finally ironed out, we'll get that up and announce that. And there's plenty more. To be honest, I had literally just made up 5 thumbnails for 5 stories I was going to cover today. And then this news broke and everything sort of got thrown out the window. So bear with me. The main thing to get organized is the Russell Brand interview with his ex-partner. Then we usually have Surviving Life and a couple other things. So there may be some time shift differences and all this kind of stuff. But just stay tuned to the Sean Atwood channel. Make sure you join the Discord if you're wanting complete and up-to-date updates on what's happening. And I just want to say, we do have one other person who's just joined the call-in room. And rather than just leave one poor person without a chance.
Bring him in. Bring him in.
Linzor ENT, are you there? And rather than just leave one. She's about to find out now when our TV tells her. Our TV tells her. Linzor ENT, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Could you please turn down your television set and you're live on the Sean Atwood channel? How are you doing, Linzor?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can tell you what's happening right now. This poor woman is trying to turn down her television.
Oh, great, Ron. Thank you so much. It's weird. I can't hear you from my phone, but I wanted to say I have a video from years ago of Russell Brand where he shouts from the stage, you know, for women to know that they aren't beneath him to be with him or something. I forgot what he said. It was like a cat call from stage. He wasn't masquerading as a Boy Scout. Any woman who would date him would know what he was about. Unlike, you know, like Jimmy Savile, who, you know, pretended he was a good person. You know, it's such a difference.
That's a really good point.
I believe this is definite government, political type of persecution for what he is speaking out about.
That's a great point. The fact that there was a double life with various other individuals, but Russell Brand was completely open with this, and I think that's a really good point. I mean, let's be honest, you kind of get, you know, what you're getting with Russell Brand. You know what I'm saying? A little bit oily, little bit sort of clammy, wears some leather. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe not the one to take home for grandma's Sunday roast until you're well and truly in the love bubble. But it's a really good take on that, because you would expect, I mean, we're not saying, oh, date Russell Brand and expect to get R-worded. We're just saying he is, there's bound to be some clashings of personalities. So a lot of people have the mindset of, I can change the guy. I can be the one to change him. Probably didn't turn out that way.
Broken bird syndrome, I call that.
Oh yeah,
it goes even further than that, because and great comment. The mainstream media were encouraging him to be like that, were clickbaiting him being like that, and we're monetizing it to the maximum. And these are the same media entities that are now closing ranks to demonize him for the exact same behavior they were encouraging and profiting from.
Yeah. And I think we all say the same thing. I think Russell Brand would say the exact same thing in this situation. You know, there's no smoke without fire, but if you're guilty, you got to go down. But it seems like a weaponized scenario. It really, really does. But again, we are just humble individuals with an opinion on the internet. This has just been breaking news today. More information will be coming as and when. Linzor Ent, thank you for coming and joining us. Sorry it was quite a short interaction, but make sure that you do come back and you stay in the community and be part of these call-ins, because this is really something that we're wanting to expand. And thank you so much for giving up your time.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Well, that was great. That was great fun. The call-in side of all this, guys. So I hope the side chat and the community are enjoying this, because it's something we want to roll with. Getting your
How do you feel, Jen, with your first call-in show?
I loved it. I could do, honestly, all day, just sit here and listen. Like, this is my bag.
Yeah, that's because
you could stay on if you want.
You're sitting
just sit here and everyone can just call in.
It's the next level from Sean taking questions in the side chat without having to even read the question, right? It's the next level. Next, all we'll need is a cardboard cutout of Sean, right, with a set of eyes that blink every now and again, and a little AI script, and we can go 24/7 on this, Mike. 24/7 on this. You know what I mean? But Jen, I would be happy to sit there too if I was in my own tiny natural tanning booth. Do you know what I'm saying? You know,
it's lovely. It's because it's 20 degrees down here today, and it's well, I mean, I don't know what Scotland's like. Probably about 1 degrey, isn't it?
What are you doing? No, I'm sorry. Are you doing crochet in the background here? Oh no, shoelaces.
ADHD, so I have to use.
Oh damn! I was about to go
like the lime green faces of the new trainers. I'm listening. I have to take it all in, but I like to keep my hands busy. So.
Yeah,
I was thinking, is Jen knitting?
Yeah,
But Jen,
exactly.
let the viewers know what you've got coming up on your YouTube channel, because you've
Yeah.
started your own podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've done an interview. I can't say who with though, because I think it's against YouTube community guidelines on the nature of it. But she's a BDSM therapist, let's just say. But that one's coming up.
So just
And
to be
then
clear-
I've got Andrew Gold coming on the channel. I have I wanted to interview Emily as well, because I just love her. I love her energy. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to interview Ron if he could be asked to get on a flight down here, but who knows?
Oh
But
yeah,
just-
listen, like Ron's gonna get on a flight. You can get me a train ticket, okay,
Sorry, I
where there's
thought you were
less,
saying-
where there's less scanners and security and things like this. You know what I'm saying? No problem. I'd love to come down and be interviewed by you. I definitely won't be wearing shorts this time, though. That was a massive. And also, I need a table in front of me. I can't be sitting on a couch with nothing going on. I feel it's very. I feel very open. But yeah, I would love to do that, man. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
Ron,
you need to.
oh, listen. Do you know what? We've got two more people that have come in, and one of them is Joseph Sala, right? You may know Joseph Sala from the side chat. He has an incredible beard and an incredible hat. And Sean, when you hear offline this guy's story, right, there is like at least 3 stories that are like before 9 o'clock stories, and this guy has got a prime time story that is going to blow your mind. Okay, it is mad, and that's the wonderful Joseph Sala, and I'm going to bring him in now. The man himself, Joseph. You're live on the Sean Atwood channel. You handsome devil. How are you?
What's up, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. What's your take on this, my G?
Thanks for coming on, Joseph.
I just got back from my mother's cataract surgery yesterday, so I had to do a screening.
Yeah.
So I was watching a little bit of the beginning of the talk about. We're talking about
Russell Brand.
Russell.
Yeah.
Here's my take, bro.
Okay.
I'll just be candid and right off the hip. So I just give you the raw, real.
Yep. Let's do it.
When I very first saw him, I forgot what comedy movie that was. He rubbed me the wrong way, but that was his character, right? He's supposed to be awkward, and it never stopped. He's always been kind of awkward. It's his sexual confidence. I don't know if it's that or if he's just quirky. But my instinct was always kind of, I don't know, kind of. He's always, I don't know. But and he's got a lot of enemies. So here's my deal. Hollywood is really good at making you or convincing you that you should do something stupid so they could beat you over the head with it later.
Yep.
He doesn't look like someone that's can navigate those waters without getting dirty.
Okay.
That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with
What about you? What's your take?
Well, listen, for me, I believe when we're standing here saying because of how a man acts and how he dresses, then he's asking for these accusations to be thrown at him. It's coming very close to the 1930s approach of if your skirt's above your knee, you're asking for it. Do you see what I mean? It's very much we're profiling him based off of how he chooses to live his life. It doesn't mean that he's an R-worder. It doesn't mean that he's a predator.
Right.
It means
me and my mom were talking. Me and my mom were talking about that on the way to the hospital. We were talking about just because you're a sexual addict doesn't mean that you enjoy raping somebody.
Right. We need to say R word, Joseph. Sorry, I forgot to go over the algorithm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my bad.
Good.
I forgot.
You're okay. Everyone gets one, Joseph. You get one. Okay. Then it happens again, and it's Yakuza rules. The pinky comes off. All right. The pinky comes off.
Okay. I'll take the left hand, bro.
Yeah. But, carry on.
Take the left.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, but there's a very big difference between, and he doesn't strike me as someone that has a hard time getting girls, right?
Right.
There's this,
but
this dynamic of, I would have to see a lot more evidence before I just go assuming he did something stupid.
Again.
But having said that, my knowledge of what they do to you in Hollywood to get to get into certain circles, I would assume that he would have had to cross some kind of line.
But Joseph,
right?
he built his career in the UK, went to Hollywood with his wife, and then came right back to the UK and divorced his wife and was like, that was a bit much. Do you know what I mean? So I understand. I understand your mindset because it's completely true. It's Hollywood is wild, but it was almost like in his case that he's seen something and ran. What's your take on that?
That's a very, very good point. And, because here's the deal: you're not going to be in those circles. You're going to have to. Once you're there, right? So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're in a place, so it's very indefensible.
Plus, as well, ladies, let's not forget, there's a lot of you that like the bad boy, that like the outspoken, randy man for a weekend, right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest here, right? I mean, there's a definite difference between the man or woman that you would spend your life with and take home to mom and dad, and one that you'd be like, yes, this is a fun weekend that I will hope that no one finds out about and I can keep to myself. Do you see what I mean? And I think Russell Brand
I think
projects.
Sean is the baddest man I've ever been with. I've never been with someone who's been to
Hold
prison.
on. Breaking news. He's responded. He has responded.
Yes.
Here it is.
Here we go.
Let's play it.
That's Sean. What's up, Sean?
1 second, Joseph. Yeah, you're live on the
Joseph. Joseph, you've got a phenomenal broadcasting voice, but I'll get back to that. I'm going to play Russell Brand's response right now.
Hello. First of all, thank you for these incredible and overwhelming messages of support. We're very fortunate in a way to live in a time where there's so little trust in the British government. We're very fortunate, I suppose, that this is happening at a time where we know that the law has become a kind of weapon to be used against people, institutions, and sometimes entire nations that will not accept and tolerate levels of corruption that are unprecedented. I'm speaking particularly to those of you that are watching this in the UK. How do you feel about your legal system right now? How do you feel about some of the high-profile cases that are not being pursued and prosecuted? How do you feel that the Southport murders were handled? How do you feel about the government of Keir Starmer? Now, that's just sort of general context. I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, we were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. I want to let you know that our show will be on Rumble on Monday. Thanks for your support there. And of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in court, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. In the meantime, you lot, stay free, and we will be continuing to discuss this matter. Praise the Lord.
He's innocent. He's won me over, Sean. He's innocent.
I know. I got
emotional. He's innocent. I'm just saying
selling, I'm buying.
If I was accused of R and all the world was about to be waiting for my response, and I used half of my response to help the British people and bring attention to a totally cool government, by the way, Keir Starmer, if you're watching, really doing a good job, 22 billion deficit, brilliant. But he knew that everyone was going to be watching him, and he used half of his, fight for his side of the story to point to a bigger problem. And Russell Brand innocent. Change my mind. Change my mind.
Come on. Is that not a deflection? Sorry, but
that's okay. Okay, I'm now with Jen. It was a deflection. That's how flimsy my opinions are. That's how easy.
Let's ask the viewers. Put a 1 in the chat if you believe Russell is being authentic in that video. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he's acting and being manipulative. Because we're getting mixed feedback right now. And Joseph, I agree with you. When that movie came out, he rubbed me the wrong way, and I wasn't keen on him. And what it was that changed my mind about him, there's a video on YouTube. It's called Russell Brand Committee on Addiction, where he testifies before a parliamentary committee about drug addiction. It's got lots of views, and he just goes in there and he schools these politicians about the struggles of people with addiction and the prison industrial complex. And that kind of won me over. So let's see what's coming in here. 1 1 2 1 1 2 2 2 2 1 1 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 1 1 2 2 1 2 1
I just want to say you came very, very close to something racist and binary there. Just be careful with how many ones and zeros you're throwing at them.
Looks like it's about 70% ones right now. 70% ones.
Yeah,
I thought that was a good video.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again. I mean, I'm saying I've changed. My mind's changed, but I'll be honest with you. When he got to that point where he was talking about his past, he dropped the mask for a minute. He wasn't the presenter that we see on Rumble for a split moment, and you can see the desperation behind those eyes. You can see
trauma. He's traumatized from it.
It's 100%. And I just want to put this back, Sean. If I turned around to you, obviously you were probably during your big lie down at that point, but if if I told you to go back to the peak of your partying era, right? Not when you became the freaking overlord, but like your crime, your peak partying, and I gave you a 6-month period and told you to write down all your sexual encounters in detail, right? Then we tracked down those women and asked them to write down their memories of them. How many are going to match up perfectly? Do you see what I mean? It's 25 years. And for me, I want to know, is this something that was reported back then that's been ignored then and brought to light now, or if this is new reports? Because I've got some questions. I'm not taking away anything from victims. I'm just a bit fired up right now on the internet, and I hate seeing this to people with a voice and a platform. And also, let's not forget Wendy Williams. She spoke out, and they basically told everyone that she had dementia, slapped the power of attorney on her, and locked her in a goddamn building. So it's not just men that get silenced for speaking out. There is plenty of women that have fallen to the same fate. So yeah. Well,
let me clarify
Joseph,
my
sorry,
perspective
Joseph,
a little
go.
bit.
Yeah, please.
Let me do where I'm going with this is the narrative that's going to be chosen is going to be indefensible for him. This is like blaming my fat cousin Tony. He stole the cookies, right? He's already shared so much of his sexual addiction, and the circles he's walked in. We're going to have presumptions, not just everyone's going to have their own level of presumptions. Whatever narrative they choose, the powers that be, it's going to be very difficult to change the negative effects from this.
What if it's not
I'm
about,
curious,
Joseph, what if this isn't really about getting it to go through charges? What about if this is just a headline war? What if this is...
We've seen that, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I made an analogy earlier about they learned once they took out Lenin that they can't just go around shooting these people now, and deplatforming and creating destruction of character on the internet is more important than in the public, if that makes sense, because it's the internet that is paying the bills. It's the internet it's the AdSense, it's the watch time. And I think someone like Russell Brand has just crossed the big line. His voice is too big, his opinions are too strong, and the following is too loyal. And that is a colon clenching moment for the powers that be.
He's a good speaker, and he's also a very good actor.
Yep.
But he comes off, and like the truth has a way of resonating. So I think the more that he gets an opportunity to talk about it.
He's an actor. Right? I wouldn't say he's a good actor. He plays himself in every film. Have you seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall? One of the greatest songs ever to not be a song, Inside of You, by Russell Brand. Amazing.
Consider this, Ron. What if he's never shown you his actual face, right? What if he knows he's got a strong ability to play a type that he's more comfortable playing that's really not himself, and he never showed... There's a lot of political, celebrity, and athletes that really never show you themselves until you're behind closed doors. So you cannot know as a consumer anybody from Hollywood has ever shown you their true selves unless you know them.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too. But I mean it's a testament once again to how well do we know anyone. I mean,
you're really conflicted, Ron.
Well, let me point this out as well. Do you really think that somebody like Katy Perry is going to be paired up with someone that is on the spectrum of they're not sure if this guy is going to be okay? They're not going to pair her up with someone that they're going to bring into the fold, that they have any predilections he may burst or run the other way. You don't think that they have a psychological evaluation on him for years?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think that they misdiagnosed his simple dedication to asking permission. I think they assumed a lot. I think that they may have watched him at parties where craziness was going on. But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to, and again, I could be wrong, but when it comes to people who are, really active sexually like this, who are outwards about kinks and all the rest of it, the majority of the individuals, they are not what you would think. It is respectful. There is all about consent and all these things. And I think for a lot of people, they've never really seen that in the real world. It's just online, or they're hearing stories about it and things like this. But for me, people that I've experienced in my life, like Russell Brand, are, absolutely not R-worders. But I'll tell you this, There are people that will manipulate vulnerable individuals into the sexy scenes and the kink scenes who are predatory and looking for vulnerability.
I'm not putting it past the powers that be that chose him being a sexual addict, knowing that they'd be able to hang him in the future.
Yeah.
Like planned chaos on the long con.
That's a good point too, because if we're looking at the logistics and the realities of the cabal, the long game is their game, baby. Like the long game is their game, and
they're cons.
You could be absolutely right, because in what would give you more of a boner as a cabal overlord bloodliner, taking him out 20 years ago when he's got virtually nothing, or waiting until he is on the top form and has everything to lose. He thinks he's walked away from what he's seen, and now he's got wife and kids and a new life. Now it's time to twist in the knife. From an evil overlord perspective, that is way more of a delicious path than taking him out back then.
Whenever I see someone put in on the front that they're being resistant to the powers that be and they're successful, I don't buy it.
Oh, how about this? How about there's more money in it now for mainstream? How about letting someone grow to such popularity by bringing these charges now? The headlines go further. This could just be a numbers game. It could be that level of patheticness. You know?
We'll see.
We will.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out. I'm interested to see where this is going to head. It's got some interesting dynamics. He's such a well speaker that he's kind of a hard for them. It's going to be, how much is he going to be able to speak? Right? If you're going to try to really hang him on something, you're going to want him in front of that camera less and less, because he's very good at coming out ad lib, just speaking off the cuff. He's well spoken, but I don't think that it's going to be very difficult for him, because how are you going to change the narrative? Let's focus on that. How is he going to be able to change this from the direction they want it to go? What are some of the options?
Yeah, sorry, I was just typing in the side chat. Well, look, Joseph, and everybody else, if anybody else wants to come and join us, Sean has just abruptly left. And it's
I think he's probably gone to the toilet.
No, he's not. I know what he's doing. Do you know what he's doing? I know what he's doing, Jen.
I don't even know, and I live with him. I have no idea.
I know what he's doing.
I've been sat there like a nana, listening to the nice man talk while, I look like I'm knitting. But no,
you look like you're knitting. But that's all right. Listen, I'm not being funny. Knitting's freaking awesome, right? Like, if you're one of these people that knits, like, to me, it's up there with blacksmithing. It's something people should learn and carry forward.
All the women in my family know how to sew, knit, and crochet.
Yeah, well, listen, it's not just about the whamming, Joseph, right? It's about us, learning these things too.
And the military teaches you how to sew right away.
Oh,
you got to sew.
Total side quest here. Did you know that the Navy SEALs get taught how to fall asleep really quickly by a breath, like how to
a breathing technique?
Right.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about that this one night on the shows, because fascinating. Right now, listen, everybody else, if you'd like to come and join us, I'll put the link in the side chat. Joseph, I think we were speaking yesterday about a lot of the things that I want to get you involved with on the channel anyway, because you're a very interesting guy. We're not going to bring that up now, but you can expect to hear more of Joseph's buttery and elegant voice on the podcast, hopefully. So anything else you want to throw at us, Joseph, before I cast you to the nether realm?
Well, I'll pique your interest.
Okay.
I had a fight gym in Sacramento where I trained professional fighters and security guards, and I've worked red carpet events. And I happen to be in a position and perspective of understanding a lot of these systems work. For a very, very long time, my family had been involved at a very high level. I'll say that.
Did anybody hear that? Did anybody hear?
There was a bit of a call coming through midway.
My phone rang, and then I put my mic off, and then I realized I probably just cut off all of what Joseph said. So, Joseph, go back to introducing yourself and give us a little bit of your background again, because that was a technical mess up on my bad. Oh,
I'm not buying that for a second.
And a second, and now
that was radio gold, brother.
No, listen, I pushed the wrong button. Okay, I pushed the wrong button, Joseph. I'm sorry. But look, we will get you back. We will get you back to tell your stories, my guy. And
I was a professional fighter who had a professional fight gym in Sacramento in a time before it was legal. It was a kind of like a speakeasy.
Yep.
And we trained professional fighters that were champions at a time when MMA was in an opening door position. The UFC wasn't quite as established. We're talking about the early 2000s. And I've trained professional security guards and held red carpet security jobs myself. So I've got an interesting,
drop some names.
Interesting perspective on certain topics.
Joseph, drop some names. Drop some names. Randy Couture. Randy Couture.
Yeah. Randy Couture has trained when he was in town at our gym. We had our members pay to train with him for the day, and he was able to make taxable income in a safe way. And he was an excellent talent to work with.
Yeah.
We were around some of the biggest talents. I fought my best friend against Ken Shamrock.
Yep.
He's no longer with us. A really, really big fighter I used to bring on the red carpets with me. He was a wild guy. 1% biker. He was a wild guy. I got some stories about him. But
well, look, Joseph, we'll look.
Joseph, you're kind of a big deal.
Joseph is kind of a big deal. Okay, I just want to say he's the greatest thing that I've discovered from the side chat in the last.
You're either going to know about me within 10 years, or you won't. I'm feeling it. Very soon, you'll know more.
I think so too, Joseph. Well, listen, my G, thank you so much for being here. I will speak to you again soon, brother. Take it easy. We have someone else. We have Lee Real. Lee Real, are you there? Lee Real, are you there? You're live.
There's always a delay. I always give time to speak, isn't there?
Yeah, I just lose my patience. That's all. Like
I've got 5 minutes, Ron, before I gotta go get ready for the baby.
Yeah, that's right. Ron's happy to keep this going for a little while if we need to. Right, I think Lee Real is perhaps having some technical difficulties, but if you would like to come and join us, we might just keep this going until Jen goes, because I'll end up sidetracking this, and when people watch it back, they'll get to the 2.5 hour point and be like, what is happening? And it's been a very good show today, so let's keep it concise. And
let's just finish it here then,
and
then because you've got potentially the guest coming on tonight, and there'll be a whole slew of questions coming back on then. So we've got to keep them wanting more.
We got to keep them wanting more. Absolutely. All right. So see you later.
See you later. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Links
like
in the description box below the video. Like, share, and subscribe. Share everywhere you can on every platform, including Facebook. Thank you very much.
No, share it everywhere but Facebook. Actually, I'm gonna go with this. I'm just gonna throw it out there. No, just share it on Facebook. Share it everywhere. I'm gonna do an outro now. I'm just gonna drag this out for our 2 minutes, Jen, for you.
Do it.
No, like and subscribe. Okay, like and subscribe and share, and we'll see you all in a couple of hours. You're legends. We love you. Peace out, my Jesus.